What? We gotta fit the Florida theme somehow. But I'd like to open this video with a letter to Kevin Magnussen, now known as the Magnum Wearer. Dear Kevin Magnum Wearer, thank you for your multiple acts of violence against multiple drivers on the grid. You saved 2 races in 1 weekend and are now probably getting a race ban, all for the sake of the fans' enjoyment. Whether it's straight bitching Lewis Hamilton for 5 laps in the sprint or sacrificing yourself to the weekly shunt of the crash-their-mind Logan Sargent, you made this race weekend tolerable for F1 fans across the world. Who the fuck is calling me? Your penis is huge and your balls swing at knee level, and since both are so large, whenever you walk, a clapping sound can be heard from a kilometer away. Sincerely, the F1 community. Hashtag save the Magnum Wearer. Now let's get into this fucking tornado of a weekend. Before the weekend even started, Valtteri Bottas was randomly stripped of his race engineer and was given a new one. His name is Steven Petrick.
It's Steven's 16th birthday. Get away! My dad's trying to teach Steven how to swim. Get away from me! If someone in Steven's MMA class told him that he's not flexible.
Steven, cut it out! Steven! Steven! Oh.
No!
Valtteri was like kind of pissed about this, but you know, whatever. Life goes on. But in the first qualifying session of the weekend, SQ1, Steven almost fucking kills Valtteri and Oscar Piastri when he failed to inform Valtteri that Piastri was on a hot lap going into turn 1.
But he was definitely asleep.
That's too late, man. I have no idea.
Nah, Valtteri should have checked his mirror. Shut up. It's funny. Aside from that, let's briefly touch on everything else that happened in SQ1. We get a double Mercedes exit in SQ2.
Hell yeah.
And in SQ3, Lando No Clutch Gene puts it 9th on the grid after utterly destroying the field in both of the previous sessions.
Hell no!
So let's move on to the sprint race because oh my god, I'm excited. Before the race even started, Esteban Ocon got a penalty because he's French and also a fucking moron.
The guy was completely sleeping. I don't know who that was. Even the mechanics were telling him to stop, I think.
Anyways, in the first corner, we get a 4-car incident between the British bastard Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll, and Lando Norris. Now let's unpack this. On the start, Lewis Hamilton gets a solid launch. Lando Norris gets a solid launch. And the Aston Martins both get decent launches. And Lance Stroll does what he always does and just swoops in from the outside pretending nobody is there, ramming into Fernando Alonso, who is at the time trying to avoid the impeding nuclear bomb that is Lewis Dive Bombleton. After sideswiping his teammate, the stroller goes to the outside only to find a wild Lando Norris about to pass all 3 of them. And he says, "Watch this," as he spins Lando out, ultimately causing both of them to retire from the race. And as a McLaren fan, I've never been so fucking angry at Lance Stroll in my life. And I know I said making fun of Lance Stroll is boring. Making fun of Lance Stroll is honestly so fucking boring at this point. But Lance, you're a fucking idiot. So anyways, the sprint goes on and Lewis Hamilton manages to escape that incident relatively clean and then gets bitched by Kevin Magnussen for 2 billion laps. Kevin Magnum Wearer saved the sprint. And Lewis ended up getting a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so he got double RB points in a sprint race.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, Daniel Ricciardo pulls a P4 and is over the moon going into Grand Prix qualifying.
What can the home favourite do? This man drew up.
Yikes. Also,
And he's the driver at risk.
yikes again. Also, Q3 was fucking terrible because no one improved on their final push laps.
There's very few personal bests appearing on the timing page at the moment.
So on that note, let's move on to the race. And of course, we're starting from the beginning, where Sexo Perez launched a nuclear attack at Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc into turn 1, almost giving us an even better race than we already got. Let me tell you something, Sergio. If you're gonna treat the race start like a drag race, at least take out Max in the process. Jesus. Anyways, Oscar Piastri gets a massive benefit from this and ends up gaining 3 positions into 3rd while Lando drops from 5th to 6th. So all the McLaren fans are now hammering Piastri podium bets. And for the next 20 laps, the race continues on with Carlos Sainz bitching about being stuck behind Charles and Max Verstappen shoving a cone up his asshole because he didn't like the way it looked.
the cone at turn 15. What happened there?
I didn't like it, so I decided to take it out.
And after the first round of pit stops, Lando Norris is in the lead going for the overcut.
Oh my God!
I am so hard right now! The Crashtermind is back on his bullshit, everyone. And like I said in my Gettysburg Address, Kevin Magnum sacrificed himself to the Crashtermind for the culture. But in all seriousness, come on now. This is completely Logan's fault. He squeezed Kevin into a sausage-esque curb and Kevin had nowhere to go. Now I know the F1 girlyverse isn't gonna like that, but it's time to face facts. Now let's get into the shit show that unfolded during this safety car. The Lando no-wins conservation movement, aka the Max Verstappen fans wearing one of those disguised glasses things, they were livid on social media after the safety car incident. I'm sorry, Max Verstappen fans getting angry about a lucky safety car?
Oh no, Nicholas Latifi has crashed.
That seems a bit ironic. But what makes me mad is them bitching and moaning, and then when someone would tell them they're wrong and just shut up, they would just all say, well, I'm just saying Lando got lucky. Yeah, we fucking know that, dumbass. No one is arguing that Lando didn't get lucky. Anyways, if you weren't already aware, the safety car driver fucked up. Or race control, or Donald Trump, or whoever's responsible. Now, I could explain hypotheticals where the gap is proven to be just enough for Lando to get a free pit stop regardless, using an example of Alonso and Stroll during the VSC when Max Verstappen shoved a cone up his asshole.
I didn't like it.
But I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that.
The no-wins conservation movement can continue to jerk themselves off to the idea that Lando would have lost track position under the safety car, but under almost all realistic circumstances, that wouldn't have happened. But let's assume that did happen and that Lando did lose track position. I would say Lando still would have won because that car clearly had the pace to do so. And then when people said exactly that on Twitter, the no-wins movement decided to back down and say, well, Verstappen had floor damage. Okay, so first of all, whose fucking fault is that? Your boy shoved a cone up his ass. Second of all, you swinging your dick around, watching the Sky Sports broadcast and refreshing Autosport on Twitter does not mean you know shit about the extent of the floor damage, so just shut up. Anyways, Lando's race was not the only one affected by this safety car. Oscar Piastri got shafted by the safety car timing just like he did in Silverstone last year. And also Carlos Sainz was right there pitting with him. So Carlos and Oscar got into a little tussle, you know? And Oscar runs Carlos wide into turn 9. Oscar didn't get a penalty for that move, which admittedly is a little debatable, but here's my opinion. Sorry in advance, Latinos. Carlos goes for the move around the outside to get the inside into the hairpin, or whatever that turn is. The little swoopy thing. Oscar brakes late and goes deep as fuck into the corner. Carlos willingly risks not going for the switchback and holding his line on the outside only to get pushed off track by Piastri. So yes, he got pushed off, but it's not entirely Oscar's fault. You weren't the one who braked late, and a switchback would have all but guaranteed you the position. You chose to hold the outside line, and you got pushed off. Now, I can already hear the people screaming at me through the screen. But what I propose for these kind of incidents is more leniency. If someone gets pushed off, they should have the right to fight back off track. Granted, this exact example is not a good one because there isn't a ton of room in that corner, but this was the standard back in Formula One's golden age.
Honestly, I was okay. He drove me off the track and I would have done the same thing. Like on my side, I'm going to try. But he drove me off the track, so I'm going to, you know what I mean?
If you get pushed off, just keep fighting. And nowadays with penalties being dished out if your pubes are too long, everyone tries to hyper-analyze who's right and who's wrong in all these situations that are just racing incidents. And it sucks. Just let the boys drive. Moving on. Carlos and Oscar keep fighting, and going into the actual hairpin, Carlos parks his car at the apex, leaving Piastri with nowhere to go except up his ass. So then Oscar's race is ruined because he had to go pit for a new front wing, and Sainz walked away with a post-race 5-second penalty. And I mean, for the next 20 laps, everyone honestly just brought it home, and Lando Norris finally wins his maiden Grand Prix.
Lando Norris wins for the first time in Formula One! It's victory in Miami for Norris!
It was beautiful. But was it that upgraded McLaren, the lucky safety car, the raw pace of Lando Norris? Or was it something else? Donald Trump visited the McLaren garage before the race. Just gonna throw that out there. And he also congratulated Lando after the race. And of course he made the win all about himself on Twitter. And people lost their fucking minds over this. Who cares? Now I'm not gonna get into politics because yes, I'm American and I'm fully aware of Donald Trump and his antics. But McLaren was chosen by F1 themselves to host Donald Trump. They did not make that decision. Because who would want that? Any team that hosted Donald Trump in their garage would face crazy backlash. But I mean, what are they gonna do? Say no? That's unrealistic. So everyone who's trying to cancel McLaren needs to realize politics aren't that fucking important. And they don't dictate every second of your life. Well, what the fuck else was there to talk about? Ferrari put condoms on their tires earlier this week, and we might just have ourselves a good season if things continue the way they're going right now. But yeah, I don't know. That's it. That's the end of the video.
I am so hard right now! Oh my God!